So I have Mr. Bhaskar Bhat with me. I am not going to introduce him because everyone knows him. And this is a talk for my audience. We want to know from you, and hopefully they will learn from you, that how do they convert these ideas into sustainable businesses. Sustainable business not only to generate capital or fuel capitalism per se, but also to give a lot of employment and sustainable employment. So coach us. Let us know. Tell us your experience and your point of views on it.
What I see today in the world of, I call it the world of institutions. A company has an organization, and if that organization has a culture which becomes institutionalized and therefore it becomes an institution, it will sustain itself forever. Okay, this is the idea, not idea, this is the philosophy at least. That is, you should build an institution. It's very, very apparent today that, and which is what the young people have to understand, that in anything, first of all, and I'm not saying people are taking a narrow view, I'm just saying it is, we are habituated. When you come from engineering, you apply an engineering solution to a problem. When you come from management, you think that's a wider perspective to apply another. Now, the society has impacted anything so much that every stakeholder is beginning to impact every institution. So multiple stakeholder view is so important. Now when I was looking at some of the presentations, yes, there is a very strong consumer orientation. But today it's not just the consumer. Therefore today when you build a company or an institution that you're serving and that your ecosystem is impacting several stakeholders is something people have to be aware. You cannot think only of your idea. You have to have almost a 360-degree view of the impact of your idea. And I think the young have the capability of doing that. And India has been great. India's historically, there's this great thing about India. We have been invaded several times, but we've never been conquered. So Indians are great learners. And this working together and coming up with something new and which is Indian is very typical of India. If you see all the, if you were to the early days of MTV and all the V channel, etc., all of them had to Indianize.
Yes.
McDonald's Indianizes. What these people are doing and what is needed in the country and where people like us can contribute is almost a golden triangle.
Penetration of internet is almost fastest in India. Number of mobile phones probably largest in India. Number of media houses and generation of media in terms of content production highest in India. On the other hand, we are a democracy, and one of the criticism of democracy has been that you have to take everyone together and it slows down. And there has been a fashionable comparison of India versus China and how it has done. So I would like to learn from you first that how do you cater to that one. Second thing, India is a very young country and probably for a large part of a decade or maybe a couple of decades, it will be one of the youngest country, right? And they are not born in an age where virtues of constraint was taught as a value. Okay, so they are highly aspirant. They want to achieve a lot of things. They want to probably achieve a lot of things in a very short span of time. And how do you channel this?
I think there are ways of doing this. Aspiration gets defined by what you're seeing and what you're getting influenced by. And aspiration has no linkage to your ability to reach that aspiration. Correct? I want a Mercedes-Benz car irrespective of whether I can afford it or not. Now, the way to go about this, the differential aspiration, which is what you're talking about, which is the democratic handling of this. In my company, there's this one set of people, youngsters, they're the design studio,
Hmm.
and they dress in a particular way. And then there is this hugely conservative, and every time they'd come to me and say, look, how do you allow this kind of dressing? So I had to get the teams together. And then suddenly everything disappeared. Saying, those kids never thought this kind of dressing was anything wrong. And when they realize that, we are working for the company, we are doing a good job, and how I dress matter, and these who had these conservative views realize that, they are doing their job for this company, and how does dress matter? These are, so bringing people together builds sensitivity and acceptance. You may not dress like that. I have my points of view, you have your points of view, but we'll work together.
That's a very brave. So I'm just going to push you a little bit more to understand one of the management lesson, and as a student and as a participant of management and the science of management, you should never get rid of people based on their performance, unless and until you are absolutely certain that this person whom you are throwing out of an organization will not be able to find job anywhere else. So if somebody else employs that particular person, that means that person is employable, he's talented, and he can do his job quite properly. There's something wrong within the ecosystem which we need to correct.
That's right.
It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of creativity, a lot of business acumen to become successful. Why those companies rarely become institutions?
I think the one bit that makes companies institutions is the realization that it is not the technical competence or the money or the brick and mortar, which is your factories and buildings or the machines, that make the organization. It is the people. All these you can buy, but the connecting of the dots, only the human mind can do. Now, people are talking of AI and robotics and maybe, all this. Perhaps one day will come. But emotion and passion, you can't buy. So people coming together to create an institution is because they have a sense of belonging. The sense of ownership should come because of the work you do and because of the journey that organization has undertaken to impact society at large. And I am not taking away from one fundamental thing, which is you come together in a business institution to create value. You should never forget that, To say that we are here to, serve society, that should be the result. But if your business model doesn't let you do that delta between your revenue and your cost, then you're not a business.
Since you have mentioned consumer, and I'm not going to, really push you on that. For everyone to hear about simplicity and consumer, right? As a guidance, you have always told me about simplicity of thought and simplicity of design per se. So tell us something about that.
Simplicity is like truth. A colleague of mine used to say, I tell the truth only because you don't have to remember. When you lie, you have to remember. So simplicity is like that. The thing is, however much we are exposed to complex things in life, the impulses, human impulses, are at very, very basic levels. The simplicity is about going to the core. I'll give you. I'm in the watch business. 30 years back, everybody knew the watch was bought for timekeeping. Today, we can keep saying watch business, but nobody buys a watch for timekeeping. Okay. Now, the simplicity of the thinking there is that still people buy watches. So you have to ask, why do they buy watches? And then you can keep saying it is brand image, this, that, Rolex. Finally, there is that human desire to own something which reflects his personality. Okay, that Rolex brand, he knows that everybody thinks that I've arrived in life. Okay, so the role of the watch, why does anybody buy a Mont Blanc 10? 35,000 rupees just for that. It is emotion. It is just that. Do you think that guy writes every day? I doubt. But the pleasure of owning something so well crafted and in a way recognized across the world as, and you have actually you are reflected in that brand, or the brand reflects you. And those are very simple things. What you said, ego is also is at the root of human behavior, and therefore it is important. You take this tech piece. You look at 700 crores has been spent on something called double selfie. Okay, in one season by one brand. Okay. That's the amount of money that has been on all the hoardings and all that.
Yes.
Double selfie. Now, you might say, what is a double selfie? I mean, such a silly thing. But that is what, people are doing that for fulfilling some desire in themselves.
So young teams fundamentally asked me that when they should have their own anchor as a brand ambassador or something like that. How important is the field of marketing and how it is defined, because a lot of people have got different views about that. Some even get confused between sales and marketing even today. And this is purely for engineers who have done MBAs after doing engineering, or engineers who want to become entrepreneurs and they seriously want to understand brand and understand marketing. And
the biggest advantage many of us who come up from the sales side have is that you understand the ground realities of how a product is bought, why a product is bought. Okay, and in my early days, I used to sell refrigerators. When our service engineer went to install, when he opened the freezer, he found valuables inside that. Okay, jewelry. That poor woman who got married, the husband wasn't at home. For her, Godrej meant a cupboard. And she thought this was a cupboard and the freezer was the locker.
Wow.
And she didn't know that something like a refrigerator exists. And that it cools and it is for keeping your vegetables fresh or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, only when you're in the field, when the service mechanic comes and says, "Sir, what do I do? There is this thing, and do I remove the jewelry?" And so I had to tell him, "Look, call the husband," and because he may not know, husband may not know. Tell him that the jewelry has to be removed and kept somewhere else, and so. Now, the role of marketing, there is the most important role of marketing is consumer insighting. Which is, there are three kinds of consumer insighting and three phases or levels. Many of the very professional, very well-run marketing companies follow the consumer, which is they will do research so that they know where their consumer is going. There are luxury companies which lead consumers. Literally, they lead them because somewhat like Steve Jobs perhaps, or a very high-end, Patek Philippe watchmaker who says, I know what you need. Okay, as in, it's not based on research, I'll give you something through just my intuition and innovation that you will want to own it. Okay, that is almost leading the consumer. It is shaping consumer needs. You know? So that's where a good marketer can figure out the trend, and then he can take a bet and say these products, and it could go to season, it could go 5 years from now. In our company, we play across the entire value chain. Okay, we believe what I just told you, that nothing is less important or more important. So we are a category player. So when we make, whether we make watches or jewelry or eyewear or perfumes, it's a habit. We will go deep into that category. Design the watch, make the movement, brand the watch, retail it, sell it, provide the after sale service. The whole loop. Okay. So in each part of the value chain, we have concentrated. Therefore, nothing is less important or more important. You know, today, I know our Titan brand is not relevant to a lot of people who buy foreign brands. I'm not ashamed of that. We are an upper middle class company. So therefore, to say no, you know, there are foreign brands, people are buying, yeah, sure. I mean, you have to make a choice. Strategy is about choice. We are chosen to serve the large middle Indian. Look at Maruti, the most profitable automobile company is not the sexiest brand.
Which market you have to go, what product you have to build, whom you want to. It is actually very simple. So why people make such a huge deal about strategy?
Company has to have humility. And this is where probably it informs strategy. Humility is as follows. First, the company to accept that it doesn't know many things. Okay. Obvious, no? The second is that it has many incompetencies. Okay. Therefore, if you put your incompetencies, see, everybody puts their competencies in the strategy map. You put your incompetencies in your strategy map. So the way a youngster should look at this is very simple and is a very practical way. You make a choice. I have no problem if there is this strong pride about your competence. You can't say you shouldn't do this. I mean, a youngster is brought up like that. He's very proud of his competence, which is great. Now the only thing is, if I can learn more, not in my vertical, not more about artificial intelligence and virtual reality and augmented reality, by joining an institution, laterally I move and figure out what is culture, or whatever else, some basic stuff like what is governance, what is code of conduct, what is organization structure, all this. Therefore, learning that I will spend 3 years, 5 years here, travel around in this organization. It will make me a better professional who can build his own business or organization, versus feeling that in a large organization I'll be a cog in the wheel. Now that's the feeling I guess the youngsters have. I'll just be a cog in the wheel. What difference will I make? Reverse it, no. What difference will that organization make to me?
Yes.
Can be the question he can ask.
There have been extraordinary smart people, and there have been extraordinary smart companies which have been created by dropouts. But one of other common things with those dropouts is that they have criticized, and I also laugh at, and I have also shared that they said that, look, what is this professor teaching? I can get the same education out of a library also. But same guys have, during the later part of their, they have actually gone back to the same universities and completed their masters or learned in some way. So that learning someday you have to, institutions you can define in whatever, but someday you have to go back to an institution, howsoever you want to define, to learn an attribute which you will not get unless and until you are a godlike figure.
The great names and the single individuals are good to look up to, but it's their journey you have to learn from, not from where they reach. Sachin Tendulkar at his peak, all kids wanted to drive lefts, cover drive like a Rahul Dravid. But they didn't know how hard he has worked. How that guy used to go by bus with this heavy, this thing every day, morning and evening, practice. But the kids see him at the end, at this peak, and then they want to, reach that like on day one, which is. There are some extraordinarily talented people, that is one. But a large number have worked at achieving whatever they have. That journey is something to learn from, rather than just look at the guy's articulation. Because media will capture only that, तो विराट कोहली ने पेप्सी को वो कर दिया, विराट कोहली ऐसा आदमी है. It is not that. What kind of guy Virat Kohli is? His schoolmates and his sisters and brothers will tell you. And there is where the truth lies.